Hello everyone. I want to make a quick video about the purpose of this channel and the reason why I make these videos and how they should be used. Basically, I'm making these videos because it's like I'm talking to my younger self. There are people out there like me that they want to know God, but they don't really understand how it works. They think there's this wall between them and God, and this wall is basically the Christian world, church, and everything else that we've had for the past 2,000 years. A system which you have to go through to get to God, to get to God. And that's just not the case. That's not true at all. God is with you all the time, and we have prayer, and that's how you access Him through simple faith and truth, which means you have to be honest about everything. And you can have a relationship with Him. That's the whole point. I know it doesn't say it anywhere in the New Testament, but that is actually the point. That's the whole purpose, is to establish a relationship with Him and go to Him in prayer. That's how you communicate with Him. And if you can't do that, then you're just wasting your time. You're just endlessly trying to fill yourself where God should be with supplemental things, rituals, things of this nature that don't count for anything. But when I make these videos, it's for you. It's for someone like in the position that I was in, because inside these churches, there's great people. I mean, I'd say all of them are great. I mean, they're Christians, right? They do believe in Jesus, but it's a bad system, and they don't get it. And it's like they're all they're all possessed. They're all, like the Bible, the New Testament uses the word blind, but they are. They're just not there. You ask them questions and they can't answer them. They have all this theology and rituals, but they don't know what any of it is. They can't explain it. And it's just a bunch of nonsense. Like I said, they're just trying to fill themselves up with something that isn't there. And their lives are attached to it. That's what they do on Fridays. That's what they do on Sunday mornings. It's the groups they're a part of. It's their life. It's the facade that they've built up over the years. This is who they are. If you walk in there like I did, unknowingly, and say, well, that's not what it says, that's a threat to them, okay? And what turned out to be the truth is a problem for them, and that's a problem for me. And I don't go to church because of that. You just can't be honest. And you have to pretend to be someone else that you're not. In my case, you have to be extra nice. And the way you see me and the way I act, that's the way that I am. So these people in churches, they're not evil people. They're part of a system, a conspiratorial system that has ideas and thoughts of the Bible that aren't really there. We'll take the Catholics, let's pick on them for a while. Tons of rituals that just aren't real. That's not what God is. And involving yourself in things like that just keeps you away from Him. It doesn't bring you closer. You're just being emotionalized by your church. That's all. They're screwing with you. A lot of people are not aware of this that are a part of it. They know. They do know. But they think, well, I just got to work harder, I got to try harder, sin less. So I'm not there, but I'll get there someday. That's not what it is. they're being lied to as well. These are not evil people. Maybe a couple of them are. They're probably at the top. But everyone knows that something's wrong. And I don't think a lot of these people that are our parents, our fathers, grandfathers, they don't do it because they're part of some evil plan. That's just what they know. And in all honesty, it comes down to laziness. People don't take the time to study and to do research on their own. They rely on a system that they're a part of, and they're a part of that system. And that's why when you talk to someone who's a Baptist, they have Baptist views. Talk to a Catholic, they have Catholic views. It's just like a sports team, like a football team. Everyone in America has a favorite football team. Their family is a part of the same football team. They're only fans of that team because their family is, and the proximity to that team. Factually, they could be the worst football team in America, but it doesn't matter. Could you imagine going around to every football fan and saying, look, your team is wrong. This year, it's the Steelers. Okay? Everyone has to be a Steelers fan. They're not going to do it. Doesn't matter what evidence you show them. Some people would rather die than become a Steelers fan. They're their arch enemy. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing. And we're talking about God. We're talking about God. We're not here to dictate to Him. We are here to learn from Him. That's the whole point. But that's not what people are doing. That is not what people are doing. Okay? And that's why I'm putting out these videos in order to, for your consideration, look at what's being said. You look at some of the things I'm saying, I have not found them anywhere. I'm sure in 2,000 years people have said it, but it's not a core of a religious belief. Jesus has already come back yet? Not a lot. And then the ones that do believe that are a bigger problem than some of these other churches that have been around longer, like preterism. You know, they come up with all this stuff, and it's just, they start off well, just like every other church, but then not so great once you get into the nitty gritty. The stuff that I have is based on the Greek words and the words that those sentences construct. I have went through the whole church thing for a little while, 3 months. Went to Bible study, went to a couple other churches just because I was invited. I didn't get invited back, just for being honest. They say, well, what'd you think about that? I'm like, well, not very much. You're actually not correct about this or that. I don't like that. But that's what it says. That's what it says in the Bible. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. Right? I mean, how if I was really Jesus and I said that to them? They reacted the same way, which wasn't really that bad. But this is what happened with the Pharisees. He walked up to them, they said, you're wrong, and they got pissed off. And then they wanted to kill the guy. I got some looks too. But this research is based on the words and what it's saying. If the words said Jesus was a purple dinosaur who wore a sombrero, that's what I'm going to believe, because that's what the words say. And that's all we really have when you think about it. If you get rid of all the tradition, we have what? Manuscripts, and they're copies of the originals. But in reading it, a lot of people say, well, first people said, well, it's perfect. And then the academic world said, well, it's not perfect. I would say it's perfectly imperfect. It's absolutely amazing in the way these manuscripts and these stories were told. It's quite impressive, and it makes sense. It makes sense to me. but I don't hear what I'm getting from the people that I hire. And then the people I hire are what's called classicists. They're not Christians. I have separated the entire Christian world from my studies. These people, classicists, are experts in ancient Greek, Homer, Attic Greek, which is, Athens. They have a certain type of dialect. You have post Jesus Greek, uh, Planaris, or whoever it was, I can't remember, sorry. About 150 AD, okay? You have this range. And these people are Mediterranean professors and academics at some of the biggest, the keeper of keys for Greek history, okay, and culture. They know their own language. There's still problems there. They still have arguments about what Homer said here or there. I get it. But I'm concentrating on the words. I prayed, and this is what I've been getting. And this is what I'm bringing you. The words, their meaning, which can mean a lot. It can. A lot of different things. Like Mark, when Jesus was baptized. In Mark, it's different than Luke and Matthew. It's saying the Spirit, like a dove, descended into him. But it could also be saying, and that's what they all say quite literally it is saying, which is different than Matthew and Luke. But the word can also mean to him, toward him, okay? So it's a little different. And it could mean any one of those things. But when you step back out and look at it and you compare them, it's not that big of a deal. The Spirit came upon him, like Matthew and Luke, or it came towards him, which is what our Bibles say to make it look like it's all saying the same thing, in my opinion, or it went into him. It doesn't really matter. In a way, it's all the same thing, by appearance sake, from what's being written. So getting caught up on the details that way for religious theological correctness is not a good idea. And what I'm bringing to you is those options. It could be this, this, or this. We don't really know. And a lot of times we don't know this stuff is because people have hid it from us. They've hid it from us. They basically, it says one thing, and that's the thing. These manuscripts still say the same thing, but they've kind of brainwashed us into saying it's something else. And this still happens today in our churches. They'll say one thing, but then they'll blah, 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 and then announce this. They do this with Luke 17. First it's, well, it's the kingdom of heaven inside you, and then blah, 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 and then it's among you. Oh, okay. And that's what everyone believes. But it's just not correct. So all the stuff that I'm bringing you is a result of the research, sending certain parts before these classicists that I consult with, that I spend quite a bit of money on. A lot. For as much as I've been doing. And I still, not as much, but still have a checklist of things to ask them when I do get a hold of them and make an appointment with them. And the information that I get is as unsubjective as I could possibly get. There's 3 different people. There's another person who has a YouTube presence that I chat with a little bit just to kind of see what's going on. And then, there's people like Bart Ehrman, who I kind of pay for, but I kind of run it by him, see what he thinks. But these classicists don't really disagree. A lot of them will say, well, I think Mark, it's more towards him. Or someone else will say, well, Mark, I think it's more to him. You might get another one say, well, I think it's more into him. This isn't a real scenario, but just an example. But it's all pretty much the same. It's within that range. It's something like this. And that's what you got. Religions love to say, well, it has to be this one thing because that's our tradition. And they'll bend and they'll twist and they'll, take things to a degree that you could barely achieve. But they'll do it anyway. Bart Ehrman does this with Luke 17:21. The least likely possibility that it is what he says it is the position that he takes. It's the position that he takes, which is funny. It's like, why would you take a position like that if it's the least likely? And this guy's an academic, right? He's an academic. He's sitting here saying, oh, he has a story behind it. So that's the thing, just like the church is. He has this whole vision and story of what Luke 17 is, but it's all based on something that it's really not. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to research and document this information as I go through it, mostly in the Gospels right now, because the Gospels are the most important, because that's where Jesus is. And believe it or not, Revelation is the most authoritative book that we have, because it comes directly from God, Jesus, the angels. It's coming directly from heaven to John in this vision, this whatever he's in, and it's being written down on paper. It's very confusing, especially that middle part. I mean, we don't really know. It makes sense. It makes sense. It makes sense to me when you line it up with the rest of everything else. But then it's not. It doesn't seem like it's very complete in some ways, the middle stuff. But then again, you can make sense of it. And then the first 3 chapters, and then the last 2 chapters are a little more lucid. And that's where you can really start to figure out what's going on. And I made videos on that. But this research that I'm doing and these videos that I'm doing are based on that research and what I found. And again, you won't find, I've never found this stuff once. I found one after I made the video on a message board because I was doing some research. He was asking one of his pastors about it. And it's quite funny because the pastor overreacted. He's like, oh, well, it's hard to ask these really silly questions, but I'll do my best. I've noticed these pastors, they kind of do like this backhanded compliment type stuff. I don't know why they do that. They're all kind of like that. But it was about Matthew 24:39 with, them talking about the people, Noah, and not the destruction of them. And he was onto something. I think, honestly, it's been 2,000 years. I mean, people can read it and they can understand it. And it sounded like he was getting ready to understand. He was getting an idea of what it was saying. And that pastor, whoever he was, just came and slapped it out of his hand. That could be blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. He's seeing the truth and someone else just comes up and says, oh, that's ridiculous. We're a part of this religion and it means this. That's not good. And I feel sorry for when I hear about people, they walk away from religion, or they were traumatized as kids because of religion. Like, fire and brimstone people, you're going to go to hell. It's completely unnecessary. It's not even close to what it's saying. The New Testament is about relief. They're giving you an insight to the book so you can understand and do, and pray and find relief that all these things are done. And all you have to do is believe. And everything's set up. The kingdom of God is here. And when you die here on earth, you go to be with God. It's a complete story. Nobody sees it. It's amazing. But people can't see it. I've put my work into, and I'm still waiting on, some of these scholars that we have to refute what I'm saying, and they can't do it. I'm still waiting on some, or one of them actually, a really good one, but he's very busy. But it'd be great for someone to kind of say you're wrong, but it hasn't happened yet. And everything that I've gone through, I've been asking God, what does this mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does this mean? That happens all the time. And it's not wrong. That's the thing. It's not wrong. People just don't agree with it. That's what Bart Ehrman says. Well, you're not wrong, but I don't agree with it. Fine. But people want God. They do. They just don't know where to go like I did. And a lot of them are traumatized from it. Some of them leave, like I was saying before. And I feel so sorry for them because that's not God. That's not Jesus. It has nothing. Religion and Christ and God have nothing to do with each other. It's all made up. It's made up. God didn't bring those people Judaism, out in the desert. He just brought them the Ten Commandments. They created Judaism. They invented it, just like people invented Catholicism. That's what humans do. People want to be at the top. And listen to what I'm saying here. Those people never knew God, the ones that left. And it's not that they didn't know God because they didn't believe. It's because the people kept it from them. Religions actually keep God from you. They put themselves in between you and God. And then they have the audacity to say, well, you just didn't do the right things. That's why you're leaving the church. You were never a believer. That's not true. They were believers. They tried. But ultimately they failed. And they always will. All of them will, because your preacher is standing in your way. That's how it works. You must circumvent all of that, and you must go straight to God. And anyone can do it, and you can be anywhere. You can be on the moon, pray to God. But me, I don't want to be in your way. I don't want to be your guru. I don't have any t-shirts to sell you. I don't have any merchandise to sell you. A really nice guy that I've been talking with on this channel, this is the first time I ever took down a message that he put up. And it was something like, subscribe, telling other members to subscribe and hit that like. And it was a very nice gesture. And I hope he understands. I took it down because I don't want the attention. I'm not one of those people. I want people to hear my message, because people will hear it if they hear it. I'm not broadcasting it. It's here. It exists, this information that I'm putting out. And that's it. Kind of a secret in a way, but then it's not. Some people will find it. Doesn't mean you're special. Doesn't mean you're not special. It just means it's here. And I think, in my opinion, if you find it, it's because you're asking God, what does this mean, or what does that mean? And that doesn't mean you're necessarily in the right place, because I don't want you to remain here. I don't want you to dwell here forever. You're always invited here. But I'm your equal. I'm not a superior. Just because I'm giving you information, you take that information for your consideration, and you'll find out if you agree with it or not. And one day, you will pass it on to someone else. Not forcefully, but it will be there. And that's how this network works. You ask God, He gives you information. He gives you an answer. I've learned things from people, from preterists, from John MacArthur, from the Pope. Well, not the Pope, but, from people you wouldn't think that you would learn something from. And I'm so glad that Bart Ehrman has lied to me. I'm so glad that those people from the church, that Bible study, has lied to me. People from that Bible study have lied to me. Other people have lied to me about things. Not on purpose, but they think that's correct. But it's not. It's a lie, and it's a conspiracy. But I'm so glad they did so, because God gave me the chance to find out what it really is. What I've found isn't, I'd have to classify it more as theological. It cannot be exact. It can't be say, this is it, this is what it means, period. You just can't do that. What I say is, well, it's something more like this. Something that's more like this. What I made that video the other day about, Noah and then Lot getting out of Sodom and Gomorrah. Seriously, that's not what they say it is. It's not some future thing that's going to happen. Even in the timeline of the three Gospels, it just doesn't make any sense for that to be it. Even the words don't make any sense. But what makes sense is that Jesus is saying, look, guys, you're going to get out of this okay. All these bad things are going to happen, but you're going to be good. And that more than likely is what it's saying, but I can't prove it. I can't sit here and say, this is it right here. Even if I could prove it, no one's going to believe it. No one's going to believe that. I've never, ever heard anywhere. I'm sure it exists, but I've never heard of it existing in any sort of religion. The only one that I know of that looks at it the way I do are these preterists. And they got some weird theories. I don't know. I can't even make sense of it because they just say, well, this is this and this is it, and that's this and this is that, and you smash it all together and you get this. And it's just a big ball of poopy is what they got. The probability that that's correct is very slight. And every time they add something to it or say something more about it, it just adds to that probability that it's not. The New Testament is very simple. It's very simple, folks. It really is. It serves as an insight for you to know what's going on. John is great because you know that they have you and they're not going to let you go. No one can snatch you out of their hands. A little bit more about Jesus, because in my opinion, and again here, this is my opinion based on what I've seen, is John was probably written after Revelation. I think a lot of people would agree with that academically. But John had this vision. He saw some stuff. And then he wrote his own book, John, about Jesus. And that's why it's so much more mystical and powerful in terms of Christ himself. Because he probably looked back and said, wow, I've seen this, but now that I remember this, that's what that was. And maybe no one else really noticed that because they're dead and they didn't have those visions. They didn't have the vision John had on Patmos, for example. Different view. So I just don't know what else to say. I want to wrap it up. This is 30 minutes already. I'm not lying to you. This information that I found is what I found, and I'm passing it on to you so you can look at it for yourself. It will be confusing. Other Christians will reject you for it, as I have. A lot of them don't even know what you're talking about, especially when it comes from me, because I don't make a lot of sense when I speak, which I like. It shouldn't be easy. I'm not trying to puff people up and get their emotions going. Mix it with emotions and sorcery. That's not what it is. It's just a simple, basic message of what things are. I'm correcting it. I'm trying to get it back to what I would imagine it was originally, before it was adulterated. That's not easy to do, because you just don't know for sure. But it's something like this. I'm making this video for my younger self 20 years ago. For you. I wouldn't lie to myself. I'm not trying to screw myself. I'm not trying to take advantage of my younger self. I'm just trying to tell my younger self that keep praying. This wall of religion doesn't keep you from anything. It's actually bad. And and more importantly, when you're reading, this is more than likely based on the words and the language. The language, the words, and the sentence that those words construct. This is more than likely what it's saying. And the most important thing about that message from the Bible is this new Jerusalem in Revelation 1 through 8 is here. It's been among us for almost 2,000 years. So this kingdom of God that everyone talks about, that they think hasn't come yet, it's actually been here. And I'm proof of that. And I kind of want to do another video about my life and how it changed and why I think that's more probable, because I can see it. But that's from a personal perspective. But I'm not here to screw you over. I don't want anything from you. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I have absolutely nothing to gain by doing this. But I have everything to lose by lying to you. Does that make sense? Because we are being watched. And I put this information out because it exists, so it will exist. And some people will find it and some people won't. And I consider everyone an equal. I'm just passing something along. And on your way, hopefully it will be useful to you. Maybe you'll agree, maybe you'll disagree. And that's fine. But the last thing I want to do is get in the way of you and God. I don't want to be a part of that wall. If you were driving around in my neighborhood and you saw me in the front yard, and you said, "Excuse me, where's the kingdom of God? Where is God?" Just point to it. It's over there. Keep going. I don't think anyone else would do that. I think everyone else would say, "You found him, brother. Come on in. Hear our message." Do you see that? They get in your way. They stop you. They stop you from progressing. And if one day you say, "Well, I'm going to leave the church," they say, "Oh, well, you never knew God." That's right. They didn't, because they kept it from you. They got in the way. Most people are under a spell. Most people that walk away from the church are smart. There's the group that, "Oh, I like men, so I'm going to leave." That's something different. I'm talking about people that they're searching and they're searching and they just don't find anything. There's nothing there, and they know it. So they just leave. They just stop wasting their time. And that's more or less what this channel, this type of thing that I'm doing is. But you have to understand that it's a relationship with God, and that's what needs to come first. Because without it, you don't have permission, and you're not going to get anywhere. It's a waste of time. So pray to God. Watch as many videos and ask as many questions you want. and you're always welcome on your way to God.